All right, Alec Buscemi, you got me. You got me. I'm an objective, so I'll talk a little bit more about these luxury cars. I just wanted to talk about that one that was really, really expensive. I've driven these cars that are $100,000 a lot, but something that's $250,000 was, that's a cut above, supposed to be a cut above, and it was a great disappointment. It was just, it was really, really stylish and a disappointment. Now, I'll just mention one more that's even more expensive. I drove a $450,000, over $400,000, a Maybach. And my boss was riding with me, and we went and dropped this guy off, and then we're driving down the road. My boss is a millionaire who, I don't know what he's a... What is a millionaire like? He's like Trump. He's a go-get-him, do-it-right-now son of a bitch. And he's a good guy as far as, if you need something done business-wise, he's there for you. But he didn't like the way that the guy before me was driving the car, and he didn't like the way I was driving the car. Now, he didn't want to have to drive the car because he's on his phone and he's blah, blah, blah. But he was so annoyed with me and the way I was driving it that we actually did a Chinese fire drill at a stoplight. A bunch of white guys, well-dressed, got out of a Maybach and did a Chinese fire drill. Now, I just got out of the driver's seat and got in the passenger seat behind him, and there was another guy riding with us and so on. He ended up driving us. We were both in the back seat, and he was our chauffeur. And he said, you could have gotten in the front with me. Now it looks like I'm your chauffeur. And I said, yeah, I thought this is probably my only chance to get chauffeured by you. So, he then drove the Maybach, and he discovered that it had a chauffeur's throttle. It was like designed so that the person in the back seat could drink a glass of champagne and never even look outside at the traffic conditions or anything, right? So smooth and so perfect, and the throttle itself has to be controlled in order to do that. We nearly got broadsided because he pulled out and a car was coming, and normally you pull out and you just go. Gotta go a bit. Couldn't. The chauffeur's pedal wouldn't let that thing accelerate in anything that would spill a glass of champagne it wouldn't do. So, he eventually got rid of that car not too long after. He bragged about it. He was like, I had to charge you guys for riding in this thing and all this garbage. And he got rid of it because nobody could stand it. He couldn't stand riding in it, and nobody could stand driving it. As a Maybach, a $400,000 car. All right, I agree that good things are better than shitty things. Okay? But I do not think that prestige is a value. I do not believe that prestige is a value. If you are worried about how other people see you, I don't think that that's a good thing. And so that's what I'm harping on here. To prove to you that I don't mind a good vehicle, I have to admit that I did go several weeks driving these Mercedes and stuff, and then one day they gave me a Nissan Altima. And the funny thing about this Nissan, or else I might not have noticed so much, but the funny thing was it had 16 miles. 16 miles. And so it's brand new, We always drive used cars, used Mercedes, used BMWs or stuff. We never get new cars. And this is new. And that piece of shit, God, it's a piece of junk, Like I forgot how bad regular cars were. A brand new Nissan, a 2017 or 2018. Garbage. Really. Utter garbage. So, you're right. I mean, just everything about it. The way that it handled, the way it accelerated, the way that it hit bumps, the way that everything sounded, the way the ashtray moved, everything is just junk. If you've been riding in Mercedes and BMWs, and you get into a Nissan, you can't believe anything about it. The steering wheel, the bumps when it hits, the noise going down the road, you can't believe the noise after you've been riding in these nice cars. Alright? So I take back what I said on some level. So am I being clear? So my ending advice is going to be something like, if you have so much money that it really doesn't matter, then go ahead and stylize your life and get something you really enjoy. You know, and you're going to have to buy a half dozen of these luxury cars before you find one you really like. And then you might end up like Sam Walton driving an old Ford pickup truck to your last days. So who knows where that's going to go. It depends on how worried you are about how people perceive you. You know, and if you need to fit in and you need to drive up and down your street of mansions without embarrassing yourself, fine, go get yourself a Mercedes or something, you know, or a Ferrari if you need to, you know. What I laugh at is the people that drive around in those junky Ferraris and Porsches, because we get those once in a while. It's like, who wants a Ferrari like that? That's an embarrassment to the badge. Who wants a Porsche that's no better than just any SUV? Well, I mean, it's a Porsche. It's 1,000 times better. But it, you know, a 16-year-old girl could not tell the difference between any given Mazda SUV and a Porsche SUV if she didn't know what she was looking at. All right. He says, did you not sense in at least some of these voices of resentment, talking about my Apple computer, I'll mention that we're all too familiar with, the tone which despised the good for being the good? Now, do I despise the good for being the good? No. Like I just said, those cars are fantastic. They're much, I said, Cadillacs are junk. Cadillacs are junk. I admit this. So I do not despise the good for being the good. That is not the case. I despise people who signal their virtue and value and status, particularly if they are idiotic morons without a sense of morality or justice, you know, bad people driving around in really expensive cars and wearing shoes that are absurdly, obscenely hideous. And the only thing about those shoes is that you cannot get into a pair for less than $1,000. That's why they wear them. Okay? There's nothing beautiful or elegant about the shoes. They are hideous, and they're probably very uncomfortable. I hope at least those shoes are comfortable. Oh God, I hope those people aren't paying $1,000 for uncomfortable shoes. I never really gave it that much thought, but you know, I see these guys that are millionaires and buying and selling $1 million cars, and I look at their shoes and I just go, oh Jesus Christ. Now I went and bought myself some Shishi shoes so I could walk around with them. I've got some Calvin Kleins that are like right at the edge of where they start becoming hideous, you know, pointy and narrow and stupid as hell. They make them so ugly. And I got these just so I don't have to walk around in workman's boots, you know, and it annoys them when we're walking through a Ferrari showroom, and I've got workman's boots on. So I don't do that anymore. I wear Calvin Klein now when we go, but so I appreciate, and my Calvin Klein pinch my pinky toe because they're narrow and stupid, and I couldn't get them a larger size because then they would just be squampus huge. So they're stupid. So they do look stupid and they're not comfortable, and they cost me a lot of money, and I got them used. I even got them used, and they cost a lot of money. So yeah, I'll meet you at an Apple computer if you'll meet me at a Mercedes, and you'll say that you don't need anything more than a Mercedes, because that's where I'll meet you with the cars. If you're spending more than $100,000 on your car, you're doing something besides enjoying a nice car. Okay, you could spend up to $100,000, maybe a bit more, and really enjoy just a nice car to drive around. Now, if you need a particular vehicle, then you need a particular vehicle. If you're a gearhead and you need a $700,000 vehicle, then you need it. That's not my issue. But just if you just want to drive a car and you're wondering what kind of car should I drive, you don't need a Maybach. If you want a super nice car, really good, get a Mercedes. Money, though. Realize money, okay? They do things with Mercedes like the engines run at a high pressure. The coolant is pressurized. Now, why do that? You know, it makes this or that better or something. You know, it makes them run this much better or more efficient or whatever. But it doesn't add that much, but it adds a big expense, and you know, you have to pay for that when you fix those things, and they're very expensive to fix. So if you're going to get yourself one of these stupid luxury cars, realize that they are very expensive, not just to get, but to own. And even the taxes are probably high on them. So I'm not giving up a lot of ground here, am I? I'll give up a little ground. I'll let you get a Mercedes, but a Maybach is too far. Now, about my Mac. You're on a Mac that you're looking at me looking at that Mac. Did you know that? You're on a Mac that's newer and better than that Mac right there. Because that Mac right there doesn't process videos as quick and doesn't do this and that as quick, and the microphone's not as good, the camera's not as good. So I do everything on the Mac that you're looking at me on. And it's a clone. They look the same. If that were on, you would be seeing the same Mac. So yeah, I can appreciate good things. No, I don't buy junk computers. My wife got an IBM once, and 2 or 3 months later it was sitting in the corner. Nobody can open it or turn it on because something has happened to it. It got fried. I got mad at her. I said, what the hell's going on with that goddamn computer? She finally put it into a box and sent it back to the company to have the software reinstalled. They sent it back. It was as good as new. We used it for a few weeks, and again it was fried. Stupid junk. You're right. So I'll admit that. I have an Apple. So I would get a Mercedes. Like I said, Cadillacs are junk. I can admit that you can pay $40,000 for a Cadillac, and it's actually junk. And if you get into a Cadillac and drive it, and then you get into a Mercedes and drive it, and then you get back into the Cadillac, you will not really want to get back into the Cadillac. It will hurt your hands to walk towards it. You won't want to touch it. So I appreciate quality. I understand Macintosh, Apple computers. Now that Steve Jobs is dead, we're actually recycling old Macs, right? Because the new ones aren't quite up to par. So that's scary. We might be going into a slight, oh dear, what are we going to do? It's getting bad. Like we're actually relying on the old Mac boneyards to run us Mac people because the new Macs aren't up to par. All right. Have I said enough about that? Cars are fine. Alec Buscemi, thank you for the questions, the comments. Thank you for the chance to do a video about somebody that I'm not saying what a stupid moron is this guy.